It's the Jordan and Dad podcast, judging the SEC, talking about the SEC West. Let's get right into this. All right, so what do we got going on here? Well, we got Bama at number 1 in the West. I have them undefeated. I'm going to tell you why. Because they don't play Florida, they don't play Georgia, they don't play Missouri, they don't play Kentucky. And those are the best teams in the SEC East. Who do they play that's really worthy? Well, they play LSU, they play A&M, and they play Auburn. That's it. How many games was that? 1, 2, 3. They have 3 games, right? And I don't see them losing those games prediction-wise. Is it possible? Yes. But, they played Duke. Duke's not that great, so their one out-of-conference game that's even worthy of mentioning is Duke, and it's not really even worthy of mentioning if you ask me. Number 2, LSU at 11-1, with their only loss coming to Alabama. Again, why do I have LSU at 11-1? Because this is a prediction game, or a prediction video, and it's best possible scenario for every team. So I have them beating Florida because Florida comes into LSU. So they get their out-of-division win, which is really good for them, and they get their in-division loss to Alabama. But yes, Auburn and A&M and Florida will be tough games in addition to Alabama. So could LSU, at the worst-case scenario, be 8-4? Yes. At the best-case scenario, I think that they're going to be 11-1. Now, number 3, this was kind of tough, but you got Texas A&M coming in at number 3 in the West with an obvious loss to Clemson. But the division or conference-wise, they got Bama, Georgia, and LSU as their losses. And, they play. They could potentially be better than this because they play their tough games at the 12th man. So they play them at home. And that's really good for them and not as good for the teams. But I think the other teams, but I think Georgia and LSU and Bama are better. Could they lose to Auburn? Yes. So this is why it was tough to pick between A&M and Auburn. I just have that being the difference between the two. So I got Auburn. Man, that first week game, I think it's going to be a great game. Oregon's not bad. They're not great, but they're pretty much like Auburn. But I have Auburn beating them because it's Oregon flying into Auburn Stadium, which is forever and a day away for Oregon to travel. But they've done it before. And then they got cake games until they hit A&M, Florida, LSU, Georgia, and Alabama. So I think all the other games for them are cake, but they're going to get those 5 losses. And if Auburn squeaks out 8-4, I'm going to be surprised. I'm going to definitely be surprised. You got Mississippi State getting to the bottom of the barrel here. So Kansas State, man, I got Kansas State beating Mississippi State. That's really the only one overall, the out-of-conference game there. But, as far as conference, I got Kentucky loss, Auburn loss, rolling over the Vols because they just can't win a freaking game. And then lost to LSU, A&M, and Bama. And then they should beat Ole Miss. So, again, Ole Miss is could be an L. But, hey, Ole Miss probably going to lose versus Memphis. Memphis is pretty damn good. And then obvious wins over Arkansas, and if you can guess, a real college fan ought to be able to guess this next one. I'll give you 5 seconds to think about who their third game is. Any clue? No clue? You should, because they're from where you're at, which is the southeastern Louisiana Lions, who they play absolutely nobody. They're not even in the frickin' FBS, and that should be a win. But everybody else, Cal, they're decent. I think I beat Vanderbilt. They're going to lose to everybody else and then play New Mexico State. That could even be a loss for Ole Miss. So, again, the team might not suck, but who they play is better than them. And let's move to a team that does suck, and that's the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, this schedule is better. So the bottom half of the West is better than the bottom half of the East. That's all I gotta say. And that says a lot for the West because the West plays a tougher conference. I think the West is the tougher conference, but I think the East is more competitive. It's kind of like the Big Ten East versus Big Ten West. Big Ten West is more competitive, but the Big Ten East top 3 or 4 are better than the majority of the West. And it's just flip-flopped in the SEC. So, yeah, Now the Razorbacks, look, I'd like to give them a win versus Western Kentucky, so I did. And you know, I threw you Razorback fans a bone there, but here's where I don't throw you a bone, because you play Portland State. Portland State sucks. They're not even in the FBS. Way to schedule an FCS game. And then you play Ole Miss and Colorado State, which Colorado State's probably going to smack, like, probably going to get the pants pulled down and spanked in the 50-yard line in front of everybody. And then you play stupid San Jose State, which, yeah, they are an FBS team, but, you know, probably going to beat them too. And then everybody else is a loss, and I gave you a win for Western Kentucky. So, anyway, to wrap this whole thing up, I got the final standings at Bama undefeated, LSU, and then you got a mix of whatever between A&M and Auburn. The only difference there being who beats who in that game, and then the obvious bottom dweller teams, Mississippi State, Ole Miss Rebels, and the Razorbacks at 3-9.